Welcome to Gamereactor Live and this week's news headlines. I'm Bengt Lemne, and today is kind of special because I'm all alone. So you'll be enjoying an hour of ramblings from me. And well, I guess I should go into the reasons. There are multiple reasons. There's jet lag involved. There is flu involved. There is different events involved. But basically, I'm the one who's have to man up and do this all by myself. So without further ado, we'll jump straight into the stories. And today's first headline is Valve has been are saying we're not saying no to Half-Life in VR. And this is what they told Kotaku. We're not saying no, but we don't know what the right thing is. Our most precious resource is time, and we don't have enough time for people to do everything. Would we like to make all of our franchises in VR? Absolutely. But we don't have enough time or people. So we have to figure out what's the best fit, what plays to the strengths of VR. That is sort of a non-committal answer, but, you know, we have to look at the facts here. Valve showed off their Steam VR at GDC. It's obviously a very powerful device. The HTC developed Vive is tremendous. You have the special little modules that sort of creates this space where movement is also registered that Valve had created, and the problem for Valve and HTC is obviously that no games as of yet support this fully. Like they support the headset, but we've not really heard of anyone who said, yeah, we're gonna make a ton of games or we're gonna make something really a standout game that uses these decks as well, these little modules. So they're gonna need a big game. Now, some people assume that the Portal room in the demo was an indicator that Portal 3 would be that game, that sort of killer app, that first game to come out. Obviously, Half-Life 3 would be an even better alternative. Personally, I'm kind of think that Portal is happening. I mean, we got the answer that no, it's just a demo. There's no game announcement. We just made it for fun. It's just part of a demo, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, you don't make demos out of thin air. You don't make a demo just because, oh, it's fun. You know, this is something that someone has worked on, and, you know, maybe they worked on something else along with that. So I think Portal is a good guess. I think that Half-Life 3 would certainly be awesome in virtual reality. It's a first-person game. It's a natural fit in that way, but also it's a longer game. It's an experience that you're meant to sort of experience sitting down and taking your time. I'm not sure they wanna change that entirely. So yes, this was at least not a no, which is good. We could still see Half-Life 3 in VR, but it's also very far from a yes. It's very far from an affirmative answer. So we're still left hanging in the air by Valve as usual, and yeah, I don't know. They say they have limited time and resources. They're probably the richest game company in the world, but yeah. They leave us hanging, as I said. So we'll have to wait and see what that actually means at the end of things. But I do believe that Valve has something big for the launch of Vive and Steam VR and all of that. So very high probability that we'll learn more in the coming months about, you know, what plans Valve have for their own VR. How absurd that might sound, but, you know, they aim to have it out this year, so, well, we'll see. Next story I thought we'd dive a little bit deeper in is the fact that Sony have now confirmed a update 2.50 for PlayStation 4. The major update, the major spring update that is expected to arrive in April, but we don't really have an exact time frame as of yet. As I said, it's a major one, so yeah. The big thing here is the suspend resume. That will well, it will basically allow you to get back into games very quickly, straight from rest mode, and it's something that's very nice in theory, but of course the games also have to support these features individually, which means that we probably won't see it on a lot of the old games, and maybe not even on all the new ones, but hopefully that'll be something that all developers of upcoming titles will implement in their games, and hopefully it's not something that we will only be able to do in a few games. So that's a nice new feature. Another feature is that you will be able to upgrade a sub account to a master account directly on your PS4. Now, this is actually related to a story that we'll talk about a little bit later on. That has to do with Sony's somewhat unconsumer friendly policies for PSN and reimbursements if someone has been hacked, etc. But we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Another new feature is that you'll be able to search your Facebook friends and see if they have a PSN account, and then add them as PSN friends. This is a great feature and one that I've been expecting for quite a while. You know, it's a no-brainer basically. Another thing is that remote play and share play will now be possible at 60 frames per second. That is, of course, if you got the bandwidth to deal with the load, but you'll be able to choose between 30 frames per second and 60 frames per second, and that is a massive improvement on remote play as well as share play. I can imagine that with share play, this requires good connections on both sides, and it'd be interesting to see just how that plays out. But certainly an improvement for both those experiences. There are also trophy improvements, and when you capture a trophy, a screenshot will be snapped so that you can easily share it, and you will also be able to remove games from your list with a 0% completion, which I'm sure that some of the trophy hounds and trophy chasers and whatnot will be happy to be able to do. You know, you just try the game once, maybe 5 minutes, and there it sits with 0% completed, and it ruins your overall completion rate. But hopefully something they'll sort out soon. There's also a number of accessibility improvements that have been made, and this is something that anyone who's got any sort of impairment when it comes to eyesight, etc., or perhaps you're colorblind or things like that, they will certainly appreciate this. You can change from text to speech. You will be able to invert colors and change fonts, and perhaps the biggest accessibility feature is that you will be able to reassign the buttons of the DualShock 4 controller as per your own liking. And you can imagine if you, for instance, have some sort of a dexterity problem with your fingers, etc., that you will be able to sort of map it out so that you can play your favorite game without any problems, and that's really nice. I can also see a lot of people who don't have any handicaps at all still wanting to do this, because maybe they prefer to play shooters in a certain way, and then you can map it out universally across all games the way you want it. So a very nice little feature there. Additionally, you will be able to share your video clips on Daily Motion with the Yuri Yukimura update. So yeah, update 2.50 No word on yet on exactly when it's coming, but we've heard rumors that April is the month, and well, it sounds like Sony have a lot of good things planned for that update, and personally, I can't wait for some of these to come. So very nice indeed. Yeah, so our next story is to do with the Pokemon creators, Game Freak. They have announced a new game, and it's actually coming out on PC, PS4, and Xbox One. So it's not a Nintendo exclusive. In fact, it's being published by Sega. It's a digital story, and we'll treat you to a little bit of an excerpt here about what the game is all about. Let me see. The National Guard of Shell City is helpless against an unknown threat, so General Krenman plays his last card and calls in his old buddy. This old buddy is none other than the peanut-munching, aggressively stomping super elephant by the name of Tembo, who's called in to save the day. The elephant, along with his friend Piccolo, must jump, stomp, hit, swing, and roll his way through 17 levels littered with secrets. So yeah, there's an interview on the site about this game that you can read. I don't know if it's available in all languages yet, but it's available in English and German, I know for sure. So if either of those languages catches your fancy, you can certainly catch up on it. It is, let's see now. Yes, and it's due out in the third quarter of 2015. Yeah, like I said, it's a digital release on PC, PS4, and Xbox One. It sounds like a really interesting and crazy concept, and it's got a really beautiful art style as well. So happy to see this come out, and good to know that Game Freak are doing something new and different. It's always good for developers to spread their wings and try new projects and so on and so forth. You can also read one of the answers here in our interview on what inspired the developers. So, and this is an interview with let me see, with Jason Turner, who's director and character designer. So from a gameplay point of view, definitely classic side-scrolling games from the 16-bit era, including Yoshi's Island, Donkey Kong Country, Metal Slug, and even Final Fight. Great games like that. From a setting point of view, 80s action movies like the Rambo series or Commando. From a spiritual point of view, I'd say the ancient Greek commander Hannibal. That guy did not give up, and he also worked alongside some ancient badass elephants. So a lot of inspirations there. Well, I guess it's the elephant version of Rambo that we'll get to play come quarter 3. So yeah, interesting news. In other news, Respawn have confirmed that there is more Titans coming in with Titanfall 2, and it's going to be multi-platform this time around. It was confirmed by Vincent Pella ahead of the BAFTAs last night. Yeah, and what he said was, I guess EA announced a sequel, so I could play coy and pretend I don't know anything about it, or yeah, so we're working on a sequel. No official name yet, but we're working on that. That's the main focus, but we're starting up a second team and doing some smaller stuff too. Small, exploratory, taking it slow. It'll be multi-platform. Another interesting part of the interview also focused on DLC, where Sampella commended Turtle Rock regarding their DLC policy for Evolve. I think that's a fantastic way to do it. I think having the maps like that in packs, it does split the community and it makes it harder for matchmaking. It's messy, yeah. I don't know. We won't do it again. I can't say for sure, but the idea would be to do something different. So very interesting, that is also going to tie into our next story on Titanfall. But let's first think a little bit about here what he says about Titanfall 2. I presume it's going to be called Titanfall 2. First of all, what kind of reception will that game get on PlayStation 4, given that the first game was exclusive? That's going to be very interesting to see. It certainly, I'm sure it rubbed some fans the wrong way. And while Titanfall was very popular at the beginning and sold real well, the you know the given all the recent multiplayer releases, it feels like it's sort of fizzled out, and that there really isn't a lot of action going on there right now. And then that is a problem when you're launching a sequel, because people tend to forget that it was pretty great in the beginning if it fizzled out and was replaced later on. So it remains to be seen how successful they can be with Titanfall 2. Um, um, Another thing that was mentioned, of course, Titanfall, infamously being this sort of multiplayer-only AAA game, and obviously you'd have to sort of look at it. Would they want to do a campaign maybe in the sequel? But Sampelas stuck to his guns. He said, "I wouldn't have done it differently. We set out to do it, and it was one of our goals." I mean, it obviously prohibits a certain group of people playing the game, and as content creators, you want to get us into as many people's hands as possible. We put some single-player elements in there, though, and try to mix it up. Maybe we could have mixed things up a bit better, because some people blew right by it and didn't even see it, because there was so much action happening around it. So that's an interesting thing. And do we want to have more story in Titanfall, or is it actually kind of nice to have something that is completely focused on multiplayer? I don't know. I'll throw it out there to you guys. Maybe some of you have comments. I'm trying to read up on the comments as I do this. Of course, my attention is fully on trying to deliver a news story to you guys, so you'll hear it. But I'm also monitoring the chat here to see if there's anything. Yeah, I can see there that Safer doesn't want people or want to be able to search Facebook for friends who has a PSN account. But I don't really see a problem with that, because if you don't want to use the function, you don't have to. There's nothing forcing you to do it. I mean, you can stick with the friends you have on PSN, and you can add no one, and you can refuse people who try and add you from Facebook, etc. That's perfectly fine. So it just adds another choice, and also for someone like me who's got friends on Steam and PSN and Xbox Live, and I don't really know who I got on all three, and who I got on only one, and who I don't have on any at all. It's just a complete mess. For me, it's kind of nice to be able to import some friends from Facebook if I, when that happens. But we should get back to the story at hand, which is Titanfall 2. And let's see. And the next story is actually tied to this one, and it's the fact that currently you can download the complete Titanfall Season Pass free on PC, Xbox 360, and Xbox One. And anyone who owns Titanfall will be able to keep it forever. There was some confusion about this, because Respawn tweeted out that it would be free forever, which sort of implied that that the offer of downloading it free would be there forever, which apparently is not true. But if you download it, if you have the game and you download it now, you will be able to keep it and play it forever. So it's not just a timed free thing. It's not just a free weekend or anything like that. It's you get the DLC. So interesting stuff, and you know, given the things that Vince Zampella said about his reflections on the Evolve DLC, we're kind of telling here. You know, maybe that is one of the problems with Titanfall, that the maps and the different things that they added, that the player base was spread a little bit too thin, and that certainly didn't help maintain the player base and interest in the game. And perhaps this measure will sort of help that a little bit, and unify the players who still are on the game and play occasionally, and that's can only be a good thing. So I'm sure you can pick up Titanfall pretty cheap right now. So if you're interested in that, pick it up, and you'll get all the DLC for free right now. We don't know how long this offer will last, though, so you may wanna hurry up. We have no idea, but for now they're celebrating the 1 year anniversary with free DLC. So that's something to look into. I'm gonna see if I can turn here. Oh yeah, okay. So now I get what Safer was saying there. He doesn't want his friends to see on Facebook that he's using PSN, but I'm pretty sure that you will be able to control exactly how that works. I would be very surprised if they forced anything upon you like that. I'm sure you can, just as you can have different privacy settings on PSN today, I'm sure you can have that in conjunction with Facebook as well. Otherwise, it would be really weird, and I would suggest then that you would disconnect your Facebook account from your PSN, just to be sure. At least that's options available for you. So you won't be locked into having people be able to see when you're on PSN, etc. via Facebook. And I don't think it's going to work like that exactly either. It's going to be, you know, just so you can search your friends list. If they have it enabled on their Facebook, which I assume you have to do as well. There's no direct connection there. So next story up is PAX East. Boss Key Productions, the new studio that was created by Cliff Bleszinski, has released the first footage from their debut game that is currently called Project Blue Streak. The pre-alpha footage, let's say, has something of a Shadow Warrior feel to it. Perhaps not a bad thing, but not exactly what you'd expect from Cliff Bleszinski, and perhaps that's a good thing. Cliffy B has been working with Unreal Tournament and Gears of War for such a long time that maybe he really longed to do something a little bit different. It's still sci-fi. It's still, got a lot of the flavor that he's known for, but it's also got that something East Asian going with it as well. It's going to be very interesting to see where this game goes. Obviously, it's been published by Nexon America, and it's a free-to-play game. So we're going to have to wait and see exactly what the model will be like, and then what kind of experience we can expect. But yeah, it was also announced that the game is going to be using Unreal Engine 4, which is perhaps not a big surprise given that Cliff and many of the, or I assume many of the employees at Boss Key have a background at Epic Games and know the engine in and out, and it just makes all kind of sense that they would be using Unreal Engine 4, and perhaps this will be the showcase game for that engine. Epic themselves, they're doing Fortnite, but they haven't really put out anything that's what I would call a showcase game for Unreal Engine 4. So maybe in an ironic twist of fate, it will be Cliff Bleszinski's new studio that will put out the game that will define Unreal Engine 4, Wouldn't that be a nice little twist of fate there for you? I don't know. I think it kind of has a nice ring to it. All right, so let's move right along. I can notice that because I'm all alone, things are moving along way quicker than they usually are. So I'm gonna make sure that I don't go too fast, because then you'll see me talking about nothing at all towards the end of this live stream. Actually, I do have a few sort of fail-safe things that I can talk about if we do move through things a little bit too quickly. The next story, though, is one that I'm sure a lot of you are very disappointed in. Though I have to say, for myself, it doesn't come as a complete surprise. So Sony have announced that Uncharted 4 has been pushed back into 2016, and it will come out in the spring of next year. So originally, of course, it was targeted for holiday this year, meaning November perhaps, but clearly Naughty Dog needed a little bit more time. So Neil Druckmann took to PlayStation blog where he explained the situation. I'm going to read it up to you so you get the full story here. Since we showed you our first gameplay reveal of Uncharted 4: A Thief's End, more of the game and story have come together. And it's become clear to us that this game is much more ambitious than we originally envisioned. After spending so many years with Nathan Drake, he means a lot to the team, and telling the cinematic chapter of his adventure is a task. The climatic chapter of his adventure is a task we don't take lightly. This game deserves every bit of attention to detail, precise pacing, and nuanced storytelling Naughty Dog is known for. So we made the difficult choice of pushing the game's release date. Giving us a few extra months will make certain that Uncharted 4: A Thief's End not only meets the team's high standards, but the high standards that gamers have come to expect from a Naughty Dog title. Thank you for your patience. We know the extra wait will be excruciating, but you'll see it will be worth it, as we will reveal more about Uncharted 4 over the next year. The team at Naughty Dog will be heads down working through 2015, making sure that Nathan Drake's story gets the closure it deserves. Come spring 2016, you and Nate are in for one thrilling, emotional ride. So, you know, there's a lot of fluff there, a lot of nice wordings, and I think the industry has finally figured out how to delay a game now. You delay it far enough out so that people don't get upset that, you know, just a few months from the release, they learn that it's been delayed. That's the first thing. The second thing is that you really push home the fact that we're doing this to improve the quality of the game. And you know, who are we to second guess that, really? I mean, you know, that is absolutely something that we support fully. However, it can also be that there could be problems that, you know, things in production, things that haven't gone well, that would cause it as well. We know that the development of Uncharted 4 has not been unproblematic. There's been a lot of defections from Naughty Dog during its production, and it's been in development for a very long time. So you have to assume that part of this is actually the fact that when Neil Druckmann and Bruce Straley came in to sort of head the project, they wanted to make some changes, and those are probably taking a little bit longer to implement. I would. That's my interpretation of it. I don't have any super insights to it, but I would assume that is the case. I think that Naughty Dog are probably perfectly in tune with the PlayStation 4, so I don't think it's actually something to do with hardware or anything like that. I think it's more probably down to the fact that there are some things they wanted to change, some things they wanted to you know, maybe give a little bit extra time on, and then, you know, why not? Naughty Dog is one of those studios that have sort of earned the right to take their time and to finish the game the way they see fit. So no problem at all with that. Of course, it leaves a huge gaping hole in the holiday lineup for Sony and PlayStation. I'm not quite sure how they will fix that. I mean, there's obviously no game that can replace Uncharted 4, but perhaps they've got something else lined up that could do well relatively. So we'll have to wait and see what that might be. They're not getting Street Fighter 5 won't be out until next year either, so that would have been a good thing. Maybe there's a Gran Turismo coming around the corner that'll be ready for holiday 2015. I'm trying to think of something else here. I'm sure there are other games as well, but yeah, a little bit of a. I mean, Sony did have a pretty weak fourth quarter last year as well. They still managed to do incredibly well in sales for PlayStation 4. So if they can keep the same momentum and the same speed going, maybe they don't even need Uncharted 4 to stay ahead of Xbox One in all markets. So, maybe not, but still, it's news that we didn't want to hear. But yeah, and I can see that you're agreeing with the fact that we'd rather have a polished game at a later date, and I totally agree. If only it was as simple as that. We have seen many games that have been delayed a long, long time that have been released in very unpolished dates anyway. So it's not always a clean-cut case of one thing or the other. Sometimes you get both things. A delayed game that is also released in a shoddy condition, and it's because and that is because it's not as simple as if you have big problems. Sometimes it's simply not a case of just adding a few months to development to fix it. Sometimes it takes even more difficult decisions than that. But hopefully in this case it's not to do with anything like that. It is merely a case of getting things right and putting polish on it and putting the pacing there and tampering with those little fine details that Naughty Dog are so great at getting just right. So yeah, that is what I'm hoping, and I think that we shouldn't be too worried about this. It's also a good sign that it's being delayed way ahead of time, I should say, because it shows that there is planning. There's no they're not sort of holding their thumbs and thinking and hoping that, oh, maybe we can still make it out in time. They're actually planning ahead of time, and when you realize already now that you're going to need more months, then it's a good thing to communicate it, and it's a good thing that they're doing it now and that they're not sort of holding on to that last thread of hope that maybe we can release a game that's good enough in November. So hopefully not. But it all remains to be seen. We can't judge it quite yet, so we'll have to wait and see on that. But yeah, I think for sure Uncharted 4 was one of the biggest games to be released this year, so it certainly punches a hole in our planning as well, because we all expected it to be out this year. And it looked that the first gameplay clip they revealed at the Game Awards last year was pretty amazing. So certainly looks like they're onto something great there, and it's a shame that they're not ready earlier. So, but what can you do? It's not in our hands. The next story is one that maybe you've forgotten about. Homefront. I don't know. I almost had. You remember the game that was developed by Chaos Studios for THQ a while back, and then Crytek were assigned to do the sequel, Homefront Revolution, and then of course THQ went under, and Crytek bought the rights themselves, and then they were signed by Deep Silver. Then Crytek came into some financial difficulty, and well, it all ended up with Deep Silver buying Homefront and also picking up most of the developers from Crytek UK, the former Free Radical Design studio, and giving them new jobs at a new studio called Dam Buster, Deep Silver Dam Buster, still set up in Nottingham, and we got a press release this week that sort of, well, it I mean, it served to sort of settle some fears perhaps we had, because it's been so quiet about the game. It was shown off at E3. Was it last summer? Was it? Yeah, I think so. Either way, the it's been announced now that the studio is headed by Hazit Salah, and who also serves as game director on the title. And I have a couple of quotes here, both from Salah and from Deep Silver themselves. So we're excited that Deep Silver's acquisition of the Homefront IP and assets from Crytek has allowed development of Homefront Revolution to continue with minimum disruptions, said Hazit Salah. The team here believes we're working on something truly special. And the next quote is from Dr. Klemens Kundratic, who's the CEO of Deep Silver. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that, but that is one difficult name to pronounce. Dambuster Studios are an extraordinarily talented group. We are giving the team every opportunity to turn Homefront the Revolution into a best-selling title, and have set a 2016 release date to provide them with the time they need to achieve this. You can expect to hear more about the game later this year. So yeah, that is good news. We now know it's coming out in 2016. I don't think we were expecting it any sooner, given all the issues that has been floating around during its development. There was also some reassuring news that the studio currently employs 126 staffers, and a majority of those are former Crytek UK employees. So that means that much of the studio remains, even though, of course, when all the troubles with Crytek not paying wages, etc., occurred, a lot of talent fled and joined other studios. So it's not exactly the same studio as started out on the project, and that's reasonable. But let's hope that it's a studio that's capable of making something great. I'm excited to see exactly how it looks the next time we see it. I think it's very reasonable to assume that this game will be featured at E3, especially if it's coming out early in 2016. We don't really know. It could be late 2016, and then perhaps it's too soon to show it again at E3. But either way, Homefront the Revolution is still very much alive, and it's heading to PC, PS4, and Xbox One. So, if you forgot about Homefront, here's a reminder. The next story is one of theft, and it's an interesting story because clearly EVE Online is one of those games that just fascinates me. I personally haven't played it, and I don't really see myself playing it either, because it's got such a steep learning curve, and sort of you have to work so hard to get anywhere in that game, which is also one of the big appeals, I suppose. But for me, who's got limited time to play it, it's also very intimidating. So, but yeah, now there's been. If you're not familiar with the game is subscription based, and you pay to play it. But there's also a currency in game that you can convert into game time, so that the currency in game actually has a real world value. So one player apparently has managed to strip all assets from a corporation called the Vanguard Frontiers, something that is worth 600 billion ISK. And ISK is the in-game currency. And if you convert that into our sort of money, and how much these assets would be valued in terms of game time that you'll buy, it's worth about $13,000. So it's a virtual heist, but at the same time, it's got a real world value there. So I'm going to read to you a little bit about what happened here. A player with the moniker Non-Errata joined the VAF and managed to gain the trust of senior members of the group. Once their trust was acquired over a period of months, and after the character Non-Errata had been made a corporate director, the thief waited until other players were offline and then used his character and 5 other alts to asset strip the corporation, in process stealing from a large number of players. Eve News 24 reports that the player is not very regretful of it. In fact, he aims to be the #1 corp thief in Eve history, and he plans on further heists. And this has called into question some of the policies and measures put in place by CCP, and some people are calling for a better ability to track out characters and in order to bring them to justice in the game world, perhaps, or perhaps in the real world. I don't know. Either way, EVE Online continues to create fascinating storylines, and yeah, very, very sort of very interesting stuff. And you know, I'm sure you'd hate to have your stuff stolen, but it's kind of fascinating that it can happen in a game as well. It's kind of interesting, and it's in some ways it's just one great big social experiment. All right, are people having problems with the stream? Maybe not. I was just seeing some stuff in the news there. Centclip felt that buying game time for in-game currency is just stupid. Well, it is and it isn't. I mean, it's a way to actually make the game free for those players who spend a lot of time and invest a lot of time in making the game better for other players. And you know, in theory, that's a good thing, and it's something that I think is positive. But it does leave sort of loopholes for less than well, honest players, I guess. So I don't know. It's a double-edged sword here. You know, it's certainly something that I think is nice for the community when people play by the rules. But when they don't, well, you know, then you get what you have here, and people lose a lot of money. You know, at the same time, it's not like this guy can sort of cash in $13,000 worth of ISKs somewhere. I mean, it's maybe he can cash in some of it, sell it to people who don't, you know, aren't sort of asking any questions. But to sell off all of that piecemeal to players, that's just one giant operation there. So I don't know, but I think it would be nice if you know, you don't have to be a dick about it and just take it and not, you know, not do anything with it. You can just return it. You've proven your point. You were able to outsmart people. You were able to pull off a heist, but you know, enough's enough. That's my opinion. But yeah. So, but I don't know. I think a game like Eve attracts players who perhaps are fascinated by the fact that they can do things like this, and we've had a lot of interesting things happening in Eve, and a lot of betrayals on the corporate level and things like that, and it's fascinating stuff. So you know, I don't think we've seen the last of this player, and I don't think we've seen the last controversy in EVE Online. It's very much a game that encourages this sort of emergent gameplay and these sort of stories to emerge. So yeah. So the delay news are coming in thick and heavy. The next one is just a rumor for now. Quantum Break to be delayed to 2016. So equal paying for PlayStation 4 and Xbox One owners, perhaps. Um, Apparently, a Dutch community and social media coordinator at Microsoft called Day Jim tweeted that the game might be delayed to 2016. Now, why would he do that? Why would he do that if there wasn't some kind of indication? Well, I don't know. It's kind of out of character for a community guy to tweet something that is not officially confirmed. So I don't know. I don't know his motivations. I saw some members of the Remedy team at GDC just hanging around doing meetings. GDC isn't really the place to show off AAA games like Quantum Break, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, it's Remedy. Remedy usually take their time with the games. They're a small studio, and if they feel they need to spend some more time on Quantum Break, I'm sure that Microsoft will allow that. So. We haven't heard anything official yet, no official word, but it's one of those things that, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it gets delayed. So take it for what it is now. Right now, it's just a rumor, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Next story is also a Microsoft story, so Kudo Tsunoda, who was perhaps best known for being the sort of Kinect boss of Microsoft, is now, after having taken part in the development of HoloLens, he's now the lead for several studios that are working on Xbox One titles. So he's heading up teams like Rare, Lionhead, smaller studios like Press Play and Twisted Pixel, and he's also sort of, supervising external developers that are doing first-party titles such as Scalebound, Quantum Break, and Crackdown. And we got a quote here from him, so we'll see. One of the things I definitely took away from working with Kinect is that if you're going to build a new technology or type of experience, how important it is to first make sure the first products you ship are really based around the people who are going to use them the most. And in this case of Kinect, they were core gamers and the Xbox fans. While we made a lot of great broad consumer products, I don't think we did enough to deliver really great core experiences with Kinect. And to that, I say, no shit, Sherlock. That is pretty much spot on, and it's good. It's good to hear that from the main guy after all these years. But yeah, so now he's in charge of all those studios. So we'll see. That means it sounds a little bit like a position that is similar to what Pierre Molyneux held back in the day. He was the sort of creative director of Microsoft's European studios. This, of course, is a little bit broader. So is heading up a lot of projects, but it also remains. I mean, obviously he has some control, but I don't know how much control he has on all the individual game projects. It may not be that he's actually sort of micromanaging everything, but we'll see. And there is some news from Kickstarter. Another classic rises again, and this time it's Descent that is taken to Kickstarter. So 6 Degrees of Freedom shooter Descent returns. Descent Underground is hoping to raise $600,000 via Kickstarter, and the target is for the game to be released in March of next year. So let's read a quote here from the Kickstarter page. We're bringing back 6 Degrees of Freedom by blasting Descent into the 21st century with current generation gaming technology. Descent Underground is more than a graphics upgrade. Get ready for multiple types of customizable ships. Prepare for upgradable weapons and sensors with richly detailed tech trees. Brace yourself for destructible voxel maps with power-ups and mod tools to make your maps and more. So, sounds pretty good, right? But yeah, I'm gonna take a look at the page right now. As of now, with 28 days to go, they've raised $167,613 $167,613 from 2,639 backers, and sounds pretty solid. But should also be noted that there's quite a way to go. There's more than $400,000 left to accrue. Right now on KickTrack, it's tracking, of course, of being completed, but there's quite a lot of dollars still to. Oh, I'm losing my voice. We've only got 10 minutes left, so that's probably fine. But yeah, it's looking pretty good right now, but still some way to go, and we'll see how they make it in the end. But Descent Underground, something to look for if you're a fan of Descent. Maybe you wanna take a closer look. Maybe you wanna back it. I don't know. I don't make any suggestions whether you should or should not. But yeah, it's out there. So moving right along, we're moving on to Rock Band 4, and this is a story that I'm actually going to add some of my own little insights into, because I did an interview with Harmonix just the other week at PAX East, and so in Edge magazine, Harmonix were quoted as the unnecessary proliferation of expensive peripherals helped kill off the music genre after all, and launching with a shiny new range of essential fake instruments would be in conflict with Harmonix's current beliefs. So that is why they hope to bring backwards compatibility to Rock Band 4 with every existing instrument, excluding the keytar from Rock Band 3, which will not be supported. But all the guitars and drums and I assume microphones will be supported. And I talked to Daniel Sussman at Harmonix about this, and they're working with Microsoft and Sony to enable this on PS4 and Xbox One. Obviously, it's an issue of getting these old pieces of hardware to run on the new consoles, but he's very hopeful to make it all happen, and I think it's a very nice gesture. Of course, it also means that there will be no new added features to the Rock Band 4 instruments, which is a little bit surprising perhaps, but Harmonix did say that they have a lot of interesting new innovations coming in the game, but that they're not talking about that yet. There will be a full reveal at E3, so that's when we will learn more. But for now, it's what we know is this backwards compatibility approach. All your songs that you own for any old Rock Band titles will be playable with Rock Band 4. We'll be able to transfer them over, and yeah. So that's what we know right now. There's also another thing going on, that is Harmonix are asking people to see if they want to get their favorite songs into Rock Band 4. What they're doing is you can drop your suggestion on songs that you want to have in Rock Band 4 over on their website, and you can make as many requests as you want, but you can only make one at a time. But they're listening to their fans, and they you also talked about in the interview that's coming up on GRTV pretty soon. We also talked about the little hints and teases that Harmonix dropped when they released some new Rock Band 3 DLC, and of course it was all part of a message that we should expect rock and roll to come back. And yeah, it's a big deal for Harmonix. You can tell that the Rock Band series is something that they really live and die for, and they are really happy to be able to work on it again. And it's going to be very interesting to see if it can become a big popular thing again, if people are ready to rock and roll with plastic once more. That's going to be very interesting to see. But yeah, that's That's the insight that I wanted to add to that. And we're gonna end on something of a sad note, as Discworld creator Terry Pratchett has passed away at age 66, and he dies after a long battle with Alzheimer's disease. And of course, we know Terry Pratchett from Discworld, the wonderful fantasy series, and it has been translated into video games. And of course, his daughter is also one of the most renowned writers in the video game industry. She recently did the rebooted Tomb Raider, so our thoughts go out to her. We're going to read a statement that was put out by the publisher. The world has lost one of its brightest, sharpest minds. In over 70 books, Terry enriched the planet like few before him. As all who read him know, Discworld was his vehicle to satirize this world. He did so brilliantly, with great skill, enormous humor, and constant invention. Terry faced his Alzheimer's disease, and embuggerance, as he called it, publicly and bravely. Over the last few years, it was his writing that sustained him. His legacy will endure for decades to come. My sympathies goes out to Terry's wife Lynn, their daughter Rihanna, to his close friend Rob Wilkins, and to all closest to him. So, sad news, but his memory will live on. And if you haven't read any of his books, I suggest you pick it right up and do so, because it's really great stuff, and something you shouldn't miss out on. So I think that was my last story, actually. So I'm just gonna have to kill a little time here. We got a couple of minutes until Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, and today is Exo Zombie Day, so you will be playing the Exo Zombies mode. I understand that there is a victim of jet lag that is coming back to head things up in the studio. I believe Dory is making an appearance in just a few minutes. But before then, we're gonna stop the show. We're gonna restart it and reboot it from Copenhagen. And yeah, I don't know what to say anymore. I'm running out of voice. I'm running out of time, and this is pretty much it for me. I would want to tease a little bit that we are in the process of editing a lot of cool material from GDC and PAX East. I think me and Dory together we worked very hard. We did approximately 100 interviews, so it's going to be a while until all of those are up on the site. But there's some great highlights. I could mention a couple, perhaps, if we have time for it. I think we do, that are coming up. So I'll give you a little bit of a tease there on what to expect. We have interviews on Fable Legends, Toe Jam and Earl Back in Groove, Mortal Kombat X, Rock Band 4, Morpheus, Overwatch, and a ton of really great indie games. Things like We Happy Few. That's a game I think you should look up if you don't know about it. It's from Compulsion Games. The Flame in the Flood, Army Krog, Nuclear Throne, SteamWorld Heist, Oddworld, and a lot of different interviews on different VR titles as well. And you know what? The VR revolution is going to be very interesting, because it's going to give rise to some new developers that you may not have heard of before, but that have invested early in virtual reality, and that will come to the forefront now. So it can be something of a shift there, where some new developers will rise to the top of the developers world. But I think that's it for me, and we're gonna turn things off for a little bit, and then we're gonna be back with Call of Duty GR Friday nights. So that's it for me. Thanks for watching.